For 27 years, you could board a machine in London, cross an entire ocean faster than the Earth could turn, and step out in New York before the local clock said you had left. It worked. It worked beautifully, almost perfectly, for nearly 3 decades. And then, one autumn day in 2003, they switched it off forever, rolled it into museums, and no one, anywhere on Earth, has built anything to replace it since. This is the story of the only machine that ever let ordinary travelers outran the sun, and the strange, bittersweet reasons the world decided it no longer wanted to. Built by people who believed it could be done. To understand why 2 old rival nations would join hands to build something this audacious, you have to remember the mood of the early 1960s. The jet age was new and intoxicating. Every year, aircraft flew higher and faster, and it seemed obvious, inevitable even, that passenger travel would simply keep accelerating until crossing the planet took no time at all. The future was supposed to be fast. And 2 countries that had spent centuries as rivals, Britain and France, decided to chase that future together. They signed a treaty. Not a business contract that either side could quietly abandon, but a binding agreement between governments so that when the costs spiraled, and they would spiral, neither nation could walk away without breaking its word to the other. They even chose a name that meant agreement, harmony, a coming together. They called it Concorde. What the engineers were attempting had never been done for ordinary passengers. To fly faster than sound, the aircraft needed a wing shaped like a long, slender triangle, razor thin, beautiful, and almost useless at low speed. It needed a nose that could physically droop downward so the pilots could see the runway at landing, then lift to a sharp point for the dash through the sky. And it had to survive a strange punishment that few travelers ever understood. At full speed, the friction of the air heated the metal skin so fiercely that the entire aircraft stretched. It grew measurably longer in flight, by the width of a hand, then shrank back as it slowed. The crews used to leave a cap wedged in the gap that opened up, just to watch it vanish when they touched the ground. When it finally rose into the sky over Toulouse in 1969, the French test pilot landed and said only 4 quiet words. The big bird flies. And it did. It cruised at over twice the speed of sound, more than 1,300 miles an hour, so high that passengers could see the curve of the Earth and the darkening of the sky at the edge of space. Now, here is a question worth holding before the rest of this unfolds. A machine like this carried only around 100 passengers, burned staggering amounts of fuel, and cost a fortune to run. So which was it really? Was Concorde a genuine glimpse of the future that we foolishly threw away? Or was it always a beautiful dead end, a luxury toy for the wealthy that was never going to make sense for ordinary people? Pick a side now, before you hear how it ends, because by the finish you may find your answer has quietly changed. For a while, it truly was the future. Beginning in 1976, the supersonic airliner became the most glamorous way to travel that has ever existed. The cabin was narrow and the windows were small, but none of that mattered. Passengers sipped champagne and dined on fine food, while the Mach meter at the front of the cabin ticked past 2. Heads of state flew on it. Film stars flew on it. There was an advertising line that captured the magic perfectly. Arrive before you leave. Flying west, against the clock, you could land at a local time earlier than the moment of your departure. For a few thousand of the world's wealthiest travelers, this machine made time itself appear to bend. And for over 30 years, it carried those passengers without a single fatal accident. That record was very nearly the whole story, built by people who believed it could be done. Then came the 25th of July, 2000. An aircraft taking off from Paris ran over a small strip of metal that had fallen onto the runway from another plane. The strip, burst a tire. Debris struck the fuel tank, and a fire began before the aircraft could climb. It came down moments after takeoff. Everyone on board, more than 100 people, was lost, along with several on the ground. After more than 3 decades of perfect safety, the most beautiful aircraft in the sky had suffered its first and only disaster, and the whole world saw it. The fleet was grounded. After modifications, it would fly again, briefly. But something had broken that no repair could fix. And here is where the honest part of the story matters, because the crash alone did not kill Concorde. The truth is more uncomfortable. Even before that summer, the economics had always been brutal. The machine drank fuel at a rate that defied belief, several times more per passenger than an ordinary jumbo jet on the same route. Tickets cost the equivalent of a small car for a single round trip. Only a handful of these aircraft were ever built, and only 2 airlines ever flew them, both of them state-owned. Then, in the autumn after the fleet returned to service, the attacks of the 11th of September 2001 sent the entire business of luxury air travel into a steep decline. Empty seats appeared on a machine that only ever made sense when it was full. By 2003, both airlines made the same announcement within hours of each other. It was over. That autumn, the fastest passenger aircraft ever built made its final crossings, watched by thousands standing in silence at the runway fences, many of them in tears for a machine. Earlier, I asked you to choose. Future. We threw away, or beautiful dead end. Now you know the ending, so sit with it honestly, because the experts who have spent their lives on this still cannot agree. Some insist the economics doomed it from the start, that it was always a magnificent indulgence. Others argue just as fiercely that politics, fear after the crash, and the timing of 2001 killed something that could have evolved and survived. The evidence genuinely pulls both ways. If you changed your mind somewhere in this story, you are in very good company. Tell me which side you landed on and what moved you. What truly vanished in 2003 was not just an aircraft, it was a capability. We had learned as a species how to carry ordinary people faster than sound, and then, deliberately, we chose to forget how. More than 20 years later, the silhouette with the drooping nose still has no successor in the sky. Engineers are trying again now, chasing a quieter boom and a kinder set of economics. But for the moment, the plain and astonishing fact remains. We were once faster than we are today. The future arrived, and then it left. It was built by people who believed it could be done, and that's worth remembering. If stories like this one stay with you, subscribe and turn on notifications. Every week we bring one more lost machine back to life and tell you the story the history books left out.